I'm bored. I'm bored.
Hello there and welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories. I'm your host, Brian Davis. For this week's episode, we're going to talk about movies that are simply too damn long. Now, we might actually enjoy these films, but could notice some scenes that could have been cut out, or certain directors that just have a penchant for going too long. So we'll talk about those, and I will give you my top 5 list now. Alright, number 5 on my list for movies that are just too long for me is It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World from 1963. Now, this movie should have been called It's a Long, 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 Long Movie. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a classic and it's a fabulous comedy, but at over 2.5 hours, it's simply madness to watch any movie not called The Godfather for this long. However, the movie really is a blast with tons of stars like Spencer Tracy, Jonathan Winters, Mickey Rooney, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Ethel Merman, and Jimmy Durante. Interestingly enough, the original preview of this film was 210 minutes. It was later cut to 192 at the premiere, and then finally down to 161, which is the version that most people have seen. If you didn't know already, the premise of the film is about a group of strangers who happen to witness a man, that's Jimmy Durante, drive up a cliff. While attempting to rescue the man, he tells them about a hidden treasure in Southern California before dying. This leads to an intense dash by the bystanders to find this treasure. So basically, if you've seen the remake, which was Rat Race, which I believe came out in 2001, the original premise is from It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World. Number 4 is Fantasia from 1940. Now, this is an anomaly in the early Disney treasures because most of the Disney films never suffered from bloat. They were always trimmed down perfectly. Walt Disney was a master at editing films, and he never left in things they thought didn't progress the story. Fantasia is different because it's really not a kids' movie, and that in part is the problem. The poster would have Mickey Mouse on it, in his wizard's outfit, and so you think that the movie is going to be predominantly a cartoon, with Mickey Mouse in it. Well, the fact is, he's really only in the movie for about 10 minutes, and the rest of it is kind of a montage of various classical pieces. And I remember the first time my mom took me to see Fantasia in the theater, I fell asleep. So I do remember enjoying the scenes with Mickey Mouse, but really, the film was way too long and boring, at the time, for me to sit through. Years later, I would appreciate the classical music, but to be fair, over 2 hours of classical music on screen is too long for anyone. Number 3 on my list is pretty much every Judd Apatow movie that he directs. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Judd Apatow movies, but I have a preference for comedies, and comedies that are 90 minutes or less. After 90 minutes, you're pushing your luck to keep up the funny. That's just my opinion, but this is my podcast, so there we go. Anyway, I'm going to read off the 5 movies that Judd Apatow has directed. 1, he started off good with 40-Year-Old Virgin, only 116 minutes. Even then, it felt a little bit long, but I could deal with it. It's hilarious. Great movie. Next, he came out with Knocked Up. That was 129 minutes. Way too long. Funny movie again, but it could have been cut down by at least a half an hour. Next was Funny People, which is masked as a comedy, but it really isn't. That's 149 minutes. Good Lord. Next is This Is 40 at 134 minutes. Maybe sensing that he should maybe cut back. His last movie, Trainwreck, was only 125 minutes. Now, I've been reading that his next movie is going to be a comedic version of War and Peace at 324 minutes. So we'll see how that goes. Number 2 is Gone with the Wind from 1939. Now, of course, this might seem like sacrilege to some, but look, it's a 4-hour movie. And of course, it's a classic. I love Clark Gable. I love his character. The problem with me in this movie, besides being 4 hours long, is I just don't like Scarlett. Vivien Leigh was great as the character, but how can you get behind a character that you loathe and then sit and watch 4 hours of it? I just can't do it. I saw it at the Stanford Theater, which is beautiful. They had an intermission, so it was basically 4.5 hours. My God. So, sorry, Gone with the Wind. That was a one and done. Never doing it again. Frankly, I don't give a damn. All right, number 1 on my list for movies that I feel are just way too long is Cleopatra from 1963. Now, I went through on a movie kick where I was just watching all the classic films that I had to see, and for years I had heard that even though Elizabeth Taylor's in it and Richard Burton, this was just a drag of a movie. And I swear by Leonard Maltin's classic movie guide, and so simply I'm going to read his review, which pretty much nails it. And he writes, "Saga of the Nile that goes on and on and on. Definitely a curiosity item, but you'll be satisfied after an hour. Good acting, especially by Harrison and McDowell. That's Rex Harrison and Roddy McDowell. But it's lost in this flat 4-hour misfire. Nevertheless, it earned Oscars for cinematography, art direction, set decoration, costumes, special effects. So at 251 minutes, I'm never watching it ever again." All right, I'm dying to hear what other people have to say, and I'll come back later and wrap this all up. Okay, so hopefully this interview doesn't go way too long, but we're going to do...
Too late. Well, you have control over it. So
too late, yes. Movies that are way too long. And,
oh my gosh.
And you have a fun list. So.
And as you know, I'm not the most patient person. And sitting still is difficult in general for me. So, I mean, most movies by this would be too long for me. But, and the thing I was going to say about this is these are movies that are too long, and I probably don't remember the ending because I either tuned out or got up to leave.
Right.
Or was doing other things around the house because I was like, this is just way too long. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. And when you're at the theater, that's the worst feeling in the world.
Right. So pretty much anything that Scorsese does is too long.
Yeah.
So if you see the uncut extended edition, you better post up and get some like non-perishable food items because you're going to be there for a while.
Right.
You're like, I know it's all heavy and dramatic, Scorsese, but does another person have to take a bat to the head for us to be like, God, it's another 20 minutes?
Right. Or the full album of whatever Rolling Stones.
Right. Right. And it's like, I do appreciate, like, Casino, one of my favorites.
That's where it kind of works.
That doesn't seem too long to me. But you know what? If it's a true story, based on a true story, I can sit through it, right?
To a point.
Yeah, to a point. But there's a lot of things. Well,
well, here you go.
That brings me to my next two long movies. Titanic.
Yep.
First of all. Like, I think the movie is longer than it actually took for the real ship to sink. The real ship sank in like, what, 2 hours, 10 minutes? Not even, maybe
an hour. This is like
hours.
Over 3
and
hours.
It's like, wow, the ship, I know there's extra parts to it, but it's like.
Come on.
Yeah. And Pearl Harbor, another one.
Over 3 hours.
Boats, sinking, water, whatever. Two of my least favorite things. Like, you have a panic attack a little bit.
3 hours of Ben Affleck. Is,
right, and they're both true stories about tragedy. And people are like, oh, it's a great movie. You know what was great? Your grandma's funeral. Like, that's about how sad. It's like, why is this a good time to watch these? I'm all, okay, the cinematography, And with Titanic, it was like James Cameron's ego is so huge.
Yes.
He spent billions of dollars, and then the Oscars came, and then it's like everybody was like blowing smoke up his ass. Okay, great, we're good. So,
when's the last time there was like a very, not short, but like a 90-minute film that won the Oscar?
Or that didn't want to make you slash your wrist.
Right.
Like, Leaving Las Vegas, it's a great movie. No. That's depressing.
Yeah.
What was it? The Black Swan?
Yeah.
Again, depressing.
Depressing wins.
My God. Well, then I should have won an Oscar long ago. So, brings me to another one, which I guess maybe there's something to be said about true stories. Summer of Sam.
Yeah.
Which is based on that crazy serial killer in, what was it, the 70s?
Yeah, New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that has a pretty good cast of people. It's just gets to a point where, you know what it does? You think it's over, and you're like, oh, okay. And then then it kicks up. It's like, oh, I think the acid trip is ending. And it's like, nope, there you go. You got another 4 hours to freaking deal with it. So
it's over 3 hours long. We just looked it up.
Wow.
But, no, it's 2 hours and 20. I got to look it up again.
At that point.
But it doesn't matter,
It's just point. But, it's, that one is one of those of like some time of your life you never get back.
That's right.
And you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And Wolf of Wall Street. But everybody loves that, so I have to be careful because somebody's going to like
But that's almost, I want to say, well over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but there's something about that one. It's like, okay, just do however many lines of Coke, maybe take them 3 or 4 away, and you could wrap it up.
Right.
We're good.
We get that you're...
Right, we get, it's Scorsese and Leo on their ego trip, and it's like, oh, that's great, but can you guys just go to, like, Burning Man together or something and stop torturing the rest of us?
See, this didn't go on wrong at all, so good job. We know how to edit.
Applause, applause.
I'm bored.
So we have Amanda back. It's been probably like 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Okay, so she picks and chooses what topics she wants to be on, and for whatever reason, the longest movies ever, or the movies that are way too long for her, is the one that stuck out. So I'm happy to have you on the podcast again.
Thank you.
All right. I can tell she's super nervous. Anyway, so what is your choice or choices for movies that are way too long for you?
I think this is a little bit, not everybody's going to like this opinion.
Well, this is what I want. I want controversy. I want people sending emails and all that fun stuff. So.
I think the Lord of the Rings
which
trilogy.
One? All of them. Yeah.
Yes, I have repeatedly tried watching them and fell asleep. Yes. And I read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those movies are so long, and there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
And
they're almost each about 3 hours?
I think so, yeah.
That's
and then
crazy.
There's The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And each Hobbit is 3 hours.
Why didn't you do last week's episode for movies that everyone likes but you don't like?
Oh, I should have done that.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll splice you back in on that one. But no, this is good. So you tried watching all 3 of them?
I think so. Yeah. I remember clearly trying to watch the first one, and I know the characters. I know the little world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I fell asleep.
Now, did you read you said you read the books?
I think I read, yeah.
Okay.
I read in Portuguese, but I read the books.
Right. Well, but how could you get through the books and not the movie?
I know. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you because I can't stand Harry Potter and the Lord of the... I know. So Harry Potter you can get through.
Of course. Harry Potter is amazing.
So what's the difference between Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings? What is the difference movie-wise to you as opposed to one being boring and one not being?
I don't know. Lord of the Rings didn't catch me.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, my precious, all the little, famous quotes.
I'm looking at you blankly because I have no idea what any of this means.
So, the quotes, my precious, that Gollum says.
Gollum's the little...
Gollum is the little dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the quotes, I know the characters, but it just didn't capture me like Harry Potter. I just read the last...
Frodo's this one, right? Okay.
Frodo,
I do know. That's the one that played Mikey in Goonies, right?
Oh, I don't know.
See, this is what I reference. Okay. I think it is. I think you've seen Goonies, right? You're much younger, so yes, you've never seen Goonies? Oh my
I think
God.
I have. Is it the one that they grow? No, those are gremlins. My laugh was too loud.
You need to see both. You need to see Gremlins and Goonies. You need to catch up with your G movies from the 80s.
I know. I am working very hard on that.
Good. Okay. So,
Yes.
Lord of the Rings trilogy, way too long.
Yeah.
Any other ones?
I used to think Star Wars was way too long, but I stopped. I actually watched.
Yeah.
A few months ago, and it's amazing.
Those are the originals, you're saying, the first 3. That's interesting because they're actually not, and they're probably about 2 hours, maybe.
Yeah, they're not that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess when you're a kid, everything can seem a lot longer. That was the great thing about Disney movies back in the day is they were all about 80 minutes, 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and it was perfect. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I always watched all the Disney movies.
All right, Lord of the Rings, I'm with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm bored.
Okay, so we got Kent back on the podcast, and this week we're doing movies that you feel are just too long for whatever reason. So what's your choice for this week?
After a lot of thought, I came up with The Wolf of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remembered it as a long movie, and I thought it was 2 or 2.5 hours, and I looked it up, and it was 3 hours. And I thought, okay, that's the answer then for me.
So did it feel too long when you were watching it, or
A little bit. Some of it, before I probably watched it months after it won the Academy Award.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Best
yeah.
Picture. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I probably watched it many months after that, and I knew it had a lot of excess and you watch the movie has like so many orgy scenes. Or I don't know what it's like. I get the point.
Yeah,
I get the point.
Yeah.
I understand. He's trying to show what the lifestyle was, and I mean, how many times the way
you do coke a couple times. That's all. You don't have to do it every 15 minutes. So I got it.
But I don't. And it's odd that he'd think that he'd feel the need to push that down our throats.
Yeah,
they get that.
I think it's a Scorsese thing because most of his movies are just super long. So Goodfellas. Casino,
Gangs in New York.
Oh man, there's a real another one. They're all high quality. But it's like you can do 2 hours, 2:15.
Yeah, it's funny.
Okay, so no.
In the middle of the movie, there's one very long scene. It's probably 10 minutes long. Where you've seen the movie?
Oh yeah.
Where the IRS guys come on the boat, his humongous yacht.
Mm-hmm.
And how that and it's in the middle of the movie, and it's almost 10 minutes long, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see that scene, and that's like a Tarantino style scene where it's a long take, or not one take, but it's a long scene in one venue, and that was really a good scene, I thought.
Yeah.
But the way it changed, the way out there they come on the boat, he's trying to bribe them without overtly bribing them, and then at the very end, he's the whole scene breaks up.
Yeah.
But as a whole, the movie I thought was a little bit much.
It's interesting because I guess when you're going to the movie, you can want to get your money's worth. But as for repeat viewing, unless it's The Godfather, watching a 3-hour movie is tough.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good one. So thank you, Ken.
Thank you for having me again.
I'm bored.
Okay, for this week, we are with Gwen. And we're going to try to keep it short because it'd be ironic if we made this a really long interview. So name the movie or movies that you feel are just way too long.
Okay. So one of them is a classic film.
Okay.
Great film, but just too long, and the critics said that it was too long.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Dr. Zhivago.
That's a great one.
Yeah, so I grew up watching this each time it came on the television, because my mom loved this film. And when I was a kid, all I can remember is just one scene, because I didn't see the whole entire thing.
Right.
And it's this one scene when he was really young. And he's in his room, it's dark, and there's like a tree branch like ticking on the window. Mm-hmm. And that's the only scene I remember. But it's a great film, and later on in life, as an adult, I saw the whole thing. And it's a great masterpiece.
It's close to 4 hours, isn't it? Or something like 3.5 hours?
Yeah, it's over 3 hours long, and here we go. Let's see, 193 mintes.
Yeah, okay, so a little over three hours.
But the 200 minutes was really released in 1992.
Yeah, a lot of films, they get edited. Like the release party has one, and then they always change it up. So.
Right. And so, this film is set in the backdrop of World War I.
Yep.
And the Russian Revolution, the Russian Civil War. And so you see these main characters going through all these different historical events.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another film that I thought was long, and that is The English Patient.
Oh, I haven't seen it. So, yeah.
Really? Wow.
Did you read the book? Too?
No, I didn't.
So how long is the English Patient?
It's 162 minutes.
Okay.
Which is almost...
That's almost 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, but that one is really long.
Yeah.
And with this one, it's set in World War II.
Yep.
And so it seems that a common theme is historical events, that are set in the backdrop of certain films tend to be a little longer.
Yeah, like Titanic.
Titanic, Schindler's List.
Yeah. Pearl Harbor, did you ever see that one with Ben Affleck?
No.
Okay, that's like 3 hours long. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
My friend Sarah earlier in this podcast basically said that the movie Titanic was actually longer than the actual event of the ship actually going down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Titanic was long.
It was a long movie. So for Dr. Zhivago, have you gone back and watched it, or was it a one and done because it was so long?
No, I tend to watch it whenever it's on film, when I know.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
on TV.
On TV, but I don't watch as much TV.
Right.
These days.
It used to be back in the day, like if something came on, you'd watch it but
Exactly,
now
you had
everything's
no
streaming,
choice.
everything's on demand. So.
Right, like you had no choice but these few channels, and that's what you watched. Unlike these days where you can just like either rent a DVD, look on Netflix, look on Amazon, and it's instantaneously there.
Right.
But will you watch it? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But if it's on television, you have no other choice. Yeah,
you might watch
it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. So it seems like a common theme with these.
The historical.
It's a historical dramas that I had discovered,
Those
and
are great.
They've won so many awards. With Academy Awards and also Golden Globe Awards.
Well, I think we'll eventually do an episode on Oscar winners that we actually enjoyed, because the common theme seems to be that just because it wins an award doesn't actually mean it's a great film or that's got a mass appeal to it. So
exactly.
Those
or
are
if
good.
there's one certain reviewer,
right,
or critic, that famous critic that says, "Oh, you have to watch this."
Yeah.
And usually I tend to think, okay, I won't watch that because I don't necessarily like the films that they choose.
That's right.
And vice versa. So, I think the historical dramas are great, but they do tend to run long. There's a reason, because it's such a complicated story to tell in that only, 3 hours, where it happened like maybe 4 years or...
Yeah.
And there was another one, Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Never heard of it.
Really?
No.
Oh my gosh.
So what's it?
Okay.
Well, when did this come out?
In the 90s, I believe.
Okay.
Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Well, again, if it's super long, I probably avoided it based on that.
And it's based on a book by Milan Kundera.
Okay.
It came out in 1988, actually. And it's 2 hours and 51 minutes, so almost 3 minutes long.
And it's about?
So it's set in the 1968 Prague Spring of Czechoslovakia when the Russians took over. And
I'm out. Forget it.
Oh my gosh. No historical films for you?
Not in Czechoslovakia, no.
Hey, but this was like an international film. It had all this
I'm sure it
big,
was.
huge cast. It had...
And you lasted through it?
Yeah.
And you enjoyed it?
I did.
But it's too long.
Yeah, it was kind of long, but you know who is in the movie?
Have you read War and Peace too?
No, I don't.
Okay, you should. I think this would be good for you.
Did you watch it?
No.
Okay, well then. But you know who is in this film? It's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
How long was There Will Be Blood? Because that seemed like a long movie, but it was still enjoyable.
Oh, I watched that recently.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, I actually watched it twice.
Well, there you go. It wasn't too long for you.
2 hours and 38 minutes.
Okay, that's a long movie, but it's good enough to keep you going. See, I can watch The Godfather no matter what. I mean, that's
right.
3 hours, so.
Because there's no historical element.
No, there definitely is a historical element because it's back in the 20s or 30s. But I don't know. It's one that it never gets long for me. The third one, on the other hand, does feel long because it's just not as good of a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the first two, those are excellent. All right, those are great. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Thank you.
I'm bored.
Okay, after a brief hiatus, David is back.
Yay.
And this week we're going to do movies that you feel are just way too long. So what is your list?
So it's funny that you mentioned it because that movie being too long is one of my top comments about movies, especially nowadays. Everything takes forever, and it's that movie didn't need to be 2.5 hours. Why did it just waste 2.5 hours on this stupid movie? So that's one of my go-to arguments. Movies don't need to be that long.
Right.
And, back in my day, movies would be, a brief 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you get everything.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be I really wish that was longer.
Right.
And now it's just why are comedies 2 hours?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
You're pushing your luck.
Yeah. But that being said, it's funny because that being my go-to argument, I couldn't really come up with a lot of specifics of this was too long and this just But one that definitely comes to mind is all of the Hobbit nonsense.
Yes.
I have no patience for that.
Did you watch any of them?
I have watched all of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you kept going back even after the first
even though I don't really like Hobbit bullshit. Yeah, I mean, with the Lord of the Rings to begin with, it was kind of understandable because it was like, pioneering at the time. Like, oh, that was really new and kind of refreshing. Mm-hmm. And like, okay, like this kind of fantasy stuff was like pretty cool back then. And then like with their subsequent extended Blu-ray nonsense whatevers, I don't think I ever actually sat through like however many hours that bullshit was, but...
Well, I know they do showings of all 3 movies and people sit through 9 hours or whatever it is, and that's just insane.
And then, because the Blu-rays, I think the extended cuts of those movies are like 4 hours or something insane. So I am not a huge, Tolkien fan, so I don't need to sit through all of that.
Now, do you enjoy Harry Potter?
I like Harry Potter.
Okay, so those aren't too long?
They kind of fall in the same... I didn't see that last Fantastic Beasts, but as far as like the main Harry Potter movies, it kind of falls in the same realm for me of the original Lord of the Rings, where it was like the books were so dense, it makes sense that let's just film it all and then we'll just cut it later and make it an enjoyable movie for everybody. So it's like Lord of the Rings and a lot of like a few of the Harry Potters were a bit long for me, not being like a huge book fan.
Right.
Just like if I just want to go in and watch like a fun movie, like a couple of them are on the longer side, but the like just straight up Hobbit movies that like recently came out, those were just stupid, and then they don't have the backup argument of like, well, the book was huge. It was like, no, the book was like a 200-page like whatever. Yeah, it was a kid book, and the fact that they were just like extrapolating as much and just like, well, the hypothetical thing that they talked about, let's film that, and it was so dumb.
That's one nice thing about what Star Wars has been doing. Like, they're not overblown. They're still not, even the originals were only 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think Return of the Jedi was a little bit longer, but...
there's this other podcast that I listen to, and their kind of like go-to line is like, if it was longer than the original Star Wars, you're bullshit. Because like the original episode, like New Hope, it was 2-ish hours maybe, whatever, and like it set up the whole universe, and like it got like you could that's your entry point. Yeah, that was everyone's entry point, and it was enough.
Perfect.
So for these like bullshit movies coming out now that it's like it's pushing 3 hours and like what are you doing? Like it's just So
I don't know if people if they're thinking, well, you're paying for the movie and so you want to get your money's worth, but nowadays like it's going to be out of the theater in a month anyway. You're going to watch it,
and then you get it at home. Yeah. So it was funny. I normally watch like all the Marvel stuff a lot because they're fun. They're lighthearted, like they're easy to just like have on the background kind of thing. And Civil War just came on Netflix, so I was like, I'll give it another watch because I'd only seen it the one time in theater, and like just hitting play and then seeing the runtime pop up of like you have 2 hours and 40 minutes, buckle in. I was like, fuck. And like I like that stupid like whatever, but even. I don't know, I guess it has more of an issue of not necessarily the runtime, but just how it was put together as a movie. But,
well, especially in the Avengers, you have so many characters. They're trying to give a little bit to everyone. But still, I think a lot of these movies would be fine a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
But, All right, so those all of them? Or, those are great.
That's all I got ready.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Fuck the Hobbit.
Thanks, David.
I'm bored.
Okay, we're back with Enrica.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
This week we're going to do movies that you just feel are way too long. That you could still enjoy them, but you just feel they could be edited in some way. So what movies do you have?
So mine are probably the super obvious ones, and that's the Peter Jackson Tolkien adaptations.
Yeah.
I, embarrassingly, was a huge, I guess I still am, huge Tolkien fan. Like, age 11 to 14, I just, like, lived in Middle Earth. Like, that was my obsession. So I, like, read the series, the trilogy. I had read The Hobbit, like, as a kid. And then I read The Silmarillion and like learned basic Elvish. It was like a whole thing.
Wow, you
super
really
embarrassing.
were. Yeah.
Well, it was the beginning of my like discovery because Tolkien was a linguist.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the beginning of my discovery for like the love of language,
Mm-hmm.
and that is I think why I liked it so much because I was obsessed with like the languages and it was like a way. It is and was a way of looking at the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Europe specifically.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, back to the film adaptation. Yeah. You know, I love the movies. I thought the first one was perfect. The second one was the battle sequences were far too long. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is the one I want to talk about. The denouement was an hour long. And I get that it was like a huge journey for the filmmakers and the actors and the whole process of wrapping up the project, which was like a 10-year project, was like really emotional, and they were also actually like saying goodbye to one another and saying goodbye and wrapping their scenes and whatever. But in the book, the denouement's like a page, maybe like 2 pages.
Right.
So it's just obscene. It's like absolutely horrible. Like and what makes it worse is Peter Jackson decided to like make half of those scenes in slow motion.
Oh God.
Like you can easily have those be in real time. But like the scene where Frodo has finally woken up from his coma and he's in like Rivendell and all the members of the Fellowship are greeting him one by one. It's like absurd. I was actually laughing when I saw it in theater. I did see it like 3 or 4 times, but it's just ridiculous.
So even though it was that long and it was too long, it didn't. You still went back and saw. You had repeat viewings of this, so it didn't sap your energy from watching it again.
No, I mean, but I also don't think I'm like a normal viewer because I was definitely like obsessed.
Right.
But the stories, I think, were very well told, and the films being that long, I think were really good at honoring the books.
Sure.
Until the last hour. Like,
I think probably it's just Peter Jackson. That's a common theme.
It is a Peter Jackson
because what he did to King Kong was outrageous.
Yeah, and that's like a known, that's another known one of being too long. But like, he did a really good job at his editors at Wingnut, I think was the name of the studio, really did a good job at cutting down all this excessive, like millions of feet of footage into like 3-hour sequences, and I think it was fine. But I think that the end of the third one was like a taste of what's coming with Peter Jackson. Like he's really gonna milk every foot of footage. Yeah, that's just absurd. Like, because then The Hobbit was my second one. Yeah, I did not see 2 and 3.
Because you were just turned off by the...
Okay. I have so many opinions. So The Hobbit is a children's story. It was Tolkien embracing the whimsy of a lot of more like serious issues in humanity. This small hobbit who's this insignificant being has this incredible inner strength and can kind of ignite this revolution more or less within Middle-earth and change the course of history by obtaining the one ring, not knowing what it is, but knowing its power and like keeping it to himself, whatever. But there's so much whimsy in the story. There's a lot of singing and prose and poetry, and it's supposed to be for children to really like get lost in this world, right? But be exposed to some more mature themes along the way. And it was completely bastardized. Like, first of all, the first movie was like the first 80 pages.
Oh, wow.
It's only like 130, maybe 230 page book. It's not that big of a book. And it was so drawn out. And then like Legolas is in it. And it's just, they try to incorporate some like Silmarillion-esque aspects. Like,
and I think Hollywood is probably most at fault for this because something that's successful, they want to really milk it, they want to stretch it out. So it would have been perfect. Do you agree with one movie?
Oh yes,
okay,
absolutely.
They didn't have to make two sequels. Yeah.
And the way Peter Jackson does it and recreates the world, I think, is beautiful and so well done and honors his Tolkien's like visual vision, but like the storytelling part is just so offensive.
Right.
It's like he was one of the most brilliant storytellers and character creators, and they just like, it's so upsetting to me. I hated it. So I couldn't even go back like to the theater. I was like, I can't. Like I'll keep my perfect version of what it should be.
Reread the book. That'll be
right.
Yeah, keep it in your head.
You can honestly reread the book in real time.
Yeah.
Because the movies are so freaking like drawn out that it takes about as long to read the book in one sitting than it does to watch the movies.
Wow.
And that is not supposed to be
No,
the
not
case.
at all.
The next two that I was going to talk about, I actually didn't see because they were too long.
Okay.
So this is kind of a different theme.
That's okay.
But like these past, 3-4 years, I just don't have time to spend 3.5-4 hours in a theater, or even to like watch a 3.5-hour movie at home. Like, who has that kind of time?
I know.
Like, you gotta sleep, you gotta cook, you gotta like exercise. Sometimes you gotta work. Like, how do you fit in that kind of movies? And I feel like it's been happening too much. Like, I really wanted to see Django Unchained. I really, really wanted to see it. Yeah. I love Quentin Tarantino. I loved Inglourious Bastards. I think that direction that he was going in was really great. And I heard amazing things about Django. I really wanted to see it. And I just can't. Yeah. It's too dang long.
It's
like
well over 3 hours. Yeah.
Or a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And then The Revenant was another one.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see The Revenant. Like, it was that kind of dark.
Are there any award winners that just are 90 minutes now? I mean, it's like everything. It's got to be an epic.
And I don't understand why that's happening.
Yeah.
It's it's turning me off to going to the movies.
I think a lot of people. Yeah.
I think maybe it's because like 90-minute episodic stuff has been happening on television a lot.
Sure.
And like, I don't know, movies are like, well, if you're gonna do that, like we're gonna make the filmmaking and film viewing experience like going to the opera kind of thing, which I get. Yeah. Like, sure, that's your thing.
But what they should do is back in the old days where you could show an hour and 45-minute movie, but then you could do stuff before that is still entertaining. Like if you want to do short films or you could do cartoons and things like that. So if you want to make it that long experience where you do want to spend 3 hours, you don't necessarily have to make it all in the movie.
Right.
Because you're actually there longer because of all the previews. So,
that's true. Like you show up, well, in California, forget it. You have to show up like 20 to 30, 40 minutes early. Where I'm from, you just like...
Oh, that's interesting.
You can walk in and sit down.
So they don't show previews back east?
They do, but you can easily skip them and still have a seat. You just walk in and sit down and... You have great seats. Okay. And the theaters aren't very big. It's just, like, intimate. Mm-hmm. Here, like, you either have to book in advance at one of those fancy theaters or, like, show up an hour early. I have become an expert at the game Deer Hunter. I'm very, very good. I'm a great shot because I get to the theater so damn early.
You got to go entertain yourself.
And my fiance loves arcades and is just a total, like, video game like geek and teaches me all about the cool games and their history and everything. And I really enjoy it. So we do go early for that reason as well. But like still it's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to spend like 6 hours at a theater to see a movie.
I mean, I guess you're getting your money's worth for, $15. You got to spend a whole day there, but still.
It's not what I want. I like the outdoors. I would like a day where I could take advantage and like go on a hike and then also see a movie.
That'd be great.
Maybe make it both.
And now you can't do that anymore.
Not if I also want to like shop for food and like wash my clothes.
Sorry, you're gonna have to make Sophie's choice.
It's really hard.
Or go see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like we only have like one day together because he works on Saturdays, and we can either pick or choose.
I know. It's like listen to this podcast. You're gonna have to, Yeah. But we're only gonna make it an hour, so we're gonna be good.
So that was it.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you, Enrique.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
I'm bored.
Okay, we're back this week with Malin and Josephine, and we are going to talk about movies that we feel are just too long. Now, you may like them, and that's okay. You may not like them, and that's equally okay. So who wants to go first today? Josephine's going to go first. Okay.
Okay, so I noticed my list is very heavy on movies that have either these very revered auteurs like Terrence Malick or heavy CGI disaster porn movies. Too long.
Okay.
So I'd say almost any Terrence Malick movie. I like his movies, but they're too long, and I feel like you can still experience his cinematic vision, even if 20 minutes were shaved off.
Sure.
And I feel like, do you guys like Patton Oswalt?
I do. It depends.
He did a bit, I think, on his special for Netflix about how a lot of directors, like male directors who do like The Godfather or whatever, like Mr. Coppola, it's these male directors, but he notices the editor is usually a woman.
That's a good point.
Who will just like kind of take everything he's done that's just like bloated and self-indulgent, and he'll just like whittle it down to what needs to be said.
Right.
It's like
Scorsese movies. They're all they're all great. Most of them are great,
but a little too long.
Yeah.
So it's Terrence Malick. The new Ghostbusters, I really enjoyed that. It was a little too long.
Okay. How long was it, by the way? I still haven't seen it yet, so.
I don't know, but it felt like it was dragging a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you like the original one?
I like the original one, and I really like Paul Feig and Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. And I love Spy. So I was really looking forward to Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters, but it was too long. It felt like it wasn't edited correctly. Maybe that's what it felt.
2 hours and 14 minutes. So that's a
long
comedies shouldn't be that long.
Yeah.
So,
but it was still good.
Yeah.
Marvel movies.
Oh,
Sorry, I just have them. But I like them a lot. A lot of times they're just too long. Maybe they're trying to like squeeze in all these fight scenes or like a quip here and there. I didn't even like Civil War that much. Did you guys watch Civil War?
I did, and David Gelbard mentioned the same thing. It's 2.5 hours. I mean, I get it with all the Avengers and the Civil War. You have all these characters you're trying to give enough screen time to, but maybe cut back on some of the characters because it's way too long. Repeat viewing is tough. So,
exactly. And then, so I do like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, but the last one I felt especially was too long.
Totally
The Dark Knight was perfect, but the last one was too long.
It was almost 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with Interstellar. I didn't like it, and it felt too long. I really like Jessica Chastain, and I thought I'm not a huge Anne Hathaway fan, but I thought she was really good in it. I'm not a huge Matthew McCarthy fan. I like Michael Caine. I like Christopher Nolan in general, but it just felt like it was just going on and on, and like it was trying to find what it wanted to say through the movie. No.
Yeah.
No, you don't do that.
No, I agree. Like I remember being in the theater, just like, okay, it looks like they're wrapping it. No, they're not wrapping it. Okay.
No, like sit back down.
Yes, exactly, pretty much.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times these directors think, okay, like I want to give them my vision, my experience. And they feel like it has to be like this way, but you can still, as an audience, get that same experience with 20 minutes shaved off. I kind of liken it to, do you guys drink?
Yeah, every now and then, yeah.
Or something that you indulge in. So I was
movies.
talking, movies.
Yeah.
Like with my friends about how a lot of times when you drink, you'll have a cocktail or a beer, and you'll have a second one. But we always feel like the second one, anything after the first, you're trying to recapture the feeling of that first sip of the first beer or cocktail or wine or whatever. And I feel that way about these long movies. Like, even if they shaved off a half hour, you would still get that first taste and still experience it, and it would still be...
What is it? The law of diminishing returns. So it's like you take that first bite of pizza, it's the best bite ever, and then as you eat more, it's not nearly as good.
But you keep trying to recapture it.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's what these directors are trying to do. Like, wait a minute, like I've got more to say. When really, I could have condensed it into like a sentence, and you would still get that, vision. And then so the other ones are like San Andreas, Avatar, Planet of the Apes, Godzilla, Titanic.
Yeah, you're right, because I mean, like especially Godzilla and some of these that were kind of remade back in the day. Like you could have a horror movie or a Disney movie. I mean, that's what they were masters at. Everything was really cut perfectly. Disney, especially, like he was a master at making sure that there was no fat. Like everything was slim and worked perfectly. One of my picks is Fantasia. So you'll hear about it later. But
And don't theater owners not like movies that are too long because then they can't have as many viewings,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
really
Though the food, they'll probably buy more food if they're in the theater longer. But yes, I agree.
Maybe. I mean, if it's a really long movie and you're not particularly involved in it,
Yeah.
and you feel like it's stretching out. I mean, it's really hard for me to go into a film and feel comfortable walking out for like any reason.
Right.
Unless it's a real stinker.
Yeah.
And then I'm not coming back to
It's
the
true.
auditorium.
No, yeah.
even like Tarantino, who like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
even his movies are a little too indulgent. Yeah.
Well, like the Grindhouse one they did. I mean, that was purposely supposed to be long and for his crowd. But yeah, you're right. Like they're just they're too long. Yeah. Those are great. We're gonna go to mail.
Okay, so I feel totally unprepared for this because on some level I don't particularly feel strongly one way or another about the length of movies, as long as I feel like the film as a work has kind of done its job, whatever that job might be. But the topic for this week did make me think back about the controversy of longer films. I guess in the 90s, it was still kind of taboo to have a movie in the theaters play longer than 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And this is also, not totally coincidentally, around the same time that Laserdiscs were coming out, and the idea of director's cuts were getting this kind of elitist view, like, not everybody had a Laserdisc player, and those who did were like, oh, I can see the long version of this movie, because goodness knows it would never get into the theaters because it was longer than 90 minutes, and I think it's like that elitist portion of the home audience was realizing, oh, we're potentially losing out on stories, subplots, because of this more or less arbitrary idea that the theaters, at the time they were arguing that people didn't want to stay in the seats for longer than 90 minutes. When really it goes back to what Josephine was mentioning. I think it has a lot more to do about
it's like
having
radio
more things in the theaters.
And songs. Yeah, like a single had to be 2.5, 3 minutes.
Right.
And anything wrong with that, we're not going to play that on the radio. So it's,
right, because you got to get to the next commercial breaks and you got to cram in as many songs as possible. Yeah. So in like the 90s, I was getting exposed to these longer editions of films that like Brazil and Jim Cameron films. Yeah. So I don't know. And at that time, I was kind of fascinated. I think a lot of people were becoming fascinated by the idea that a movie could be longer than 90 minutes and that could substantially change how you perceive the film and what impact it might have on you and what meaning it had overall to the audience. So a few films that I saw back in the day, there was a 4-hour French film that my sister and I went and saw called La Belle Nosseuse, which was about an artist. I barely remember it. It was a long, long time ago. But anyways...
You never rewatched it?
No, I never did. But, but my sister and I, we made this event of it. We packed food and we took blankets and pillows into the theater, and we knew there was going to be an intermission. Yeah. So we just went into it, fully prepared for this long film. Yeah. And, I don't think we necessarily thought about whether or not it was overindulgent or just kind of there for the experience. And it was, a lot of it was just shots of the artist painting this nude model. And in between those shots, there were ruminations on art and identity and all of this. But it was 4 hours, so it was a really long time.
That's all. Yeah.
So I think we probably felt kind of accomplished and cultured, having been, just like teenagers in the Central Valley, seeing this long for French film. And it was kind of fantastic. So anyway, so that's where I have mixed feelings about this.
So while you enjoyed it, but you would never go back to watch it. So it's kind of...
Well, I might if I liked a long film, but anyway, having said all of that, I did come up with a few films that I did feel were actually too long. Forrest Gump, for reasons that I've already outlined previous. I had a really bad date watching Forrest Gump.
And go back and re-listen to that episode, people.
Yes. So... context can really define, outside of the cinematic experience of the film itself, context can make a film kind of expand or contract. And for me, Forrest Gump, I don't know if it feels like a really, really long film to anyone else, but for me, my experience, it meant that film was eternal.
That was 2 hours and 22 minutes, But yeah, I think part of like he loses everyone in his life, so that maybe that's there's a sadness to it. Like he keeps losing. He's not a bad person. He keeps losing all these people, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's why it keeps dragging. But
maybe, well, and for me, it wasn't necessarily anything to do with the film. I remember it being this kind of like epic thing where it walks this character through not just a bunch of different life turns, but also with respect to historical turns. Yeah. So maybe, I should probably rewatch it. But anyway, like I say, the context of my scene made that a really, really long movie. So yeah, I also thought about some other films that were kind of CGI indulgent. Pirates of the Caribbean, all of them. Yeah. King Kong.
The remake. The one from 2000 something.
Unbelievably
long.
It's
like over 3 hours. Yeah.
Unbelievably long.
In the original,
each scene was unbelievably long. And there's more than one scene, or there's more than one act, and in each act there was more than one scene, and each of those scenes was absolutely outlandishly long. Every action sequence just went on forever.
3 hours.
Every possible permutation of a dinosaur attacking a person or a giant ape was included in painstaking detail. It really didn't need to be quite so...
It was 3 hours and 21 minutes. That's insane.
I just thought of another one since you're talking about almost any of like the Zack Snyder superhero face punch type movies. I just tried to rewatch Superman, the one with Michael Shannon. And when you were saying the scenes dragged on like forever. And it was just
Yeah, that's one knock on that film. I mean, there were a few, but that final fight scene where they basically destroy all of Metropolis, it's like a 30-minute scene. Come on. The original King Kong was only...
Was it a Universal film?
It can't be 2 hours. Yeah. I want to say it was only like 90 minutes or something like that. But it was 100 minutes, and that was probably long for back then for a monster movie.
Well, but 10 minutes over the quota. So they really got away with murder.
I know, but that's why you don't need a super long movie to be great.
No, not necessarily. There are brilliant movies that are short and actually have some of the best character development. It doesn't having a really long scene where the same characters are just talking endlessly doesn't necessarily equate character development. If you look at sitcoms, I was just thinking about this recently. Sitcoms have, arguably have character development over the course of an episode, as well as over the course of a season. American seasons are far too bloated, but if you just look at episodes of sitcoms, I was realizing just recently how much of a patchwork they are. The beginnings and endings of some of those scenes, if you take them just for the scene, is fairly arbitrary. And if you just look at them isolated, they're kind of these isolated, arbitrary elements that very concisely create an episode. It's kind of a miracle. I was thinking about this watching some recent episodes of The Big Bang Theory, because I had an opportunity recently to see a taping where the isolation of those scenes became really profound because it would just do it over and over and over again. I realized, wow, there's no beginning or ending to that. It's just, it comes out of nowhere and it kind of ends nowhere. And then you flash to something else that's happening on another plot line, but you still have development there. Very, very, very clever. I need to think about that more. But movies should be able to do, more or less the same thing and not go over long and over bloated.
So the movie Naked Gun, which was originally a TV show, it didn't survive on TV because there was too many gags. And when people are watching TV, they're not necessarily focused on TV. They might be doing something else, might be washing dishes, eating dinner. But when you're in the movie, you're pretty much going to hyper-focus on the movie. And so the gags worked way better during the movie, even though it was less than 90 minutes, than it did for a half-an-hour TV show. So I guess, everything has its place. So
plus you also have to be able to, slip into the mood of a TV show and out of it fairly seamlessly. So if there's... I wonder how much, programming a show that's very different from the thing that comes before it, the thing that comes after it, and anything that you're really used to. Kind of can affect it, especially if you're on appointment TV with commercials and you're constantly being thrown in and out of it. I know that's a foreign concept now, but back in the day, it used to be tossed in and out of a show.
It's true. Your lead-in meant something. The whole Cheers, Cosby Show type. Friends. made a difference nowadays. If you're going to DVR it, who cares what's on before or after? But yeah, that's a good point.
Let's see. Okay, Star Wars prequels. They were too long in the sense that, one, they exist, and two, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but stop me if I did. Mm-hmm. The episode 2, which is, I don't know, I think they go from worst to best, if you could consider any of those best of anything. Best of worst of class. So the second one, my husband and I went and saw in an IMAX presentation where the reels... I
didn't see the first... Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so the second one focuses a little bit more on the development of the romance between Anakin and Padme, I think. Anyway, who's going to be the future mother of Luke and Leia. Okay. Huge spoilers, sorry.
That's all right, they've already seen it.
Okay. No, I know they have, but you haven't, yeah. So anyway, so it starts to focus in on their relationship a little bit more. And the acting is so wooden and so awkward, and the dialogue so diabolically unromantic. And you have... Well, anyway, so when we went and saw it in the IMAX theater, so when you take a film and you put it in an IMAX presentation, what they don't tell the audience is that the IMAX aspect ratio is much smaller. It's, I think, closer to 4:3 than the 2.35 to 1 that panoramic or scope that the Star Wars are traditionally shot in. So they have to basically do a pan and scan. You lose the sides, and if multiple characters, this is like something that was a big deal in the 90s too.
Yeah.
If you lose, if you have multiple characters in a scene, then somebody has to go in and decide how you're going to see it, and if you have to pan. Anyway, so that happens in IMAX productions. Other thing about IMAX, and this is where Episode 2 really won, is that the reels, at least at that time, could only carry a certain amount of film. So they had to edit them down because there were long movies, which meant they had to be selective about what they took out. And thank goodness they took out a lot of the romantic material. So the movies felt so much shorter than they actually were. We knew going in, I knew going in, that they were going to be cut down for time. But they felt so much faster and so much more successful. I hate to say it, but I actually liked Episode 2 in the IMAX presentation, even though I went as a total snob. I was like, it's going to be pan and scan. I'm going to hate it because I like watching for the composition of the films. It went so much better. So much better. It was like the Forrest Gump thing. I found out, it was a horrible experience. It went really long. I went into the IMAX having already seen it, thinking, oh God, I have to go through this horrible date night from these other people. Yeah. And that's when it didn't happen, it just went by so quickly.
Yeah. But there was no reason, and David mentioned this too, for the original, if you're going to be longer than the original Star Wars, you're probably not doing a good job, because the first Star Wars, which was Episode 4, so that was less than 2 hours. Yeah. It was, I think, 115, like 115 minutes. Right. And then I think Empire Strikes Back was 2 hours and 7 minutes, and then Return of the Jedi was the longest at 135 minutes. But if you're going to go longer than that, why? The originals are classics for reasons.
Yeah, and it goes back to those three films are really overindulgent in a lot of different ways, and unfortunately, I don't think there was any responsible kind of checking on the script. Right. So anyway, so there's that. I don't know if I want to bash on that too much more. The Hobbit.
That was mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Wait, the one with Martin Freeman?
The most recent one, right? Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, I grew up with The Hobbit as a kid's book, and I think if they really wanted to do that successfully, they should have tamed it down to, basically one movie, because it's been done successfully in that amount of time. And I mean successfully. So it's proven it can be done. And really changed the tone of the film, maybe to be... Anyway, for someone like me who grew up with it as a kid's book, I would have needed a change in tone.
Okay.
That was super overindulgent. Movies that sucked and were too long, 300 and Gladiator. Those are some of the worst movies ever, and they never end. Gladiator, you do not make a scene emotional just by putting it in slow motion. That's what I learned from that film. Every single killing is in slow motion, especially the ones that are supposed to be emotional. It doesn't work. I just sat there numb, kind of dead in terms of feelings, because it's like,
counterpoint, I think Josephine wants.
No, I was going to say that, It's on Netflix, and I haven't tried to rewatch it, but I have a special place in my heart for Gladiator because that was when I went backpacking in Europe, and I got, everything's closed on Sunday, so I went to see Gladiator in Bordeaux, and I was just like, oh.
I think that's that might be a great episode where movies were tainted one way or the other based on your own personal experience of what you were going through at that time, which Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
If you go in a different frame of mind, you might like it, and then maybe if you were not backpacking in Europe, you might not like Gladiator as much. I think that would be a fascinating study to see.
Well, and for me, Gladiator also falls flat because of my academic background, and so I went into it as an art and architectural history snob, specifically with like a lot of research on that era.
Sure.
And so I went in and I was like, that's ridiculous. I
remember at that time, like Russell Crowe was like so huge.
Yeah, he was like, anything he was in could not fail. But I just thought that was too long. But and then Tarantino. So now I want to move to directors who I absolutely love. Yes, Tarantino. I have a love-hate relationship with him because he's kind of crazy and he's Hateful Eight is ridiculously long. It's a one room kind of it's like the Cube. Have you ever seen Cube, that sci-fi film? You have.
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
Right,
Cube. It's a scenario. That's a science fiction example. It's a scenario where you have a bunch of people in a room trying to get out. Hateful Eight, bunch of people isolated, basically in a room, and we're there to watch and see who's going to be the last man standing. And it goes on for flippin' ever, and there aren't really that many twists and turns. Absolutely nothing that we haven't seen before. Absolutely nothing that we haven't seen before from Tarantino. So it's kind of painfully predictable in those terms. And it just goes on forever.
Yeah.
I was really interested in it because he was doing the whole roadshow presentation in 70mm. And then I was really disappointed that he would waste 70mm film on mostly the interiors of the same room for like a 3-hour plus film. I wanted to see more of the exteriors and maybe more interesting interactions. And really you had some boilerplate characters that we'd seen before from him. And I don't really think the actors, all of which were excellent, except one or two who fell flat in the third act, didn't have much to work with. And so like Tim Roth
was wasted.
Totally wasted in that. I mean, sure, he gets to try out a new accent, but it didn't really fly very far. So that was a disappointment. Another one that I probably will think of differently in the future, I don't know. Inland Empire by David Lynch is a film that is super indulgent because I think he finally got to a point, this is why I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I think he got to a point where he wanted to explore some themes in a great depth, a depth that he hadn't had the opportunity to do before, and he just went all out. And so it's a really, really, really long film, and I'm with him for most of it, but it probably could have been pared down. And the reason I think that is because he had just recently, before that, done Mulholland Drive, where some of these similar themes are explored, just not maybe as fully as you wanted to.
3 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah. So it's it's a longer film, and it really, Mulholland Drive has more anchors than Inland Empire does. So it's easy to get lost in it, and if you're not used to maybe doing 3+ hour film meditations, which is really kind of the mind work, the mental framework that I think the audience has to get into for that film, then it's going to be really, really challenging. And I found that one challenging, not because of the narrative deconstruction, but just going back over the same material over and over and over again. So I don't know. I may think of that one differently in the future, but it's a really long, hard journey.
All right. Thanks to everyone who agreed to be interviewed for the show. I did have a few others, and so I'll go through those. Wolf of Wall Street, which Kent mentioned, so I won't go into that again. Casino, I think Sarah kind of touched on it. I do really enjoy Casino, but it is over 3 hours long, and Scorsese in general just goes way too long. The Ten Commandments, that's a one and done. That is a super, super long epic. Too many superhero movies are well over 2.5 hours now. You know, maybe it's partly because they're not limiting these movies to just one villain or one character. It's like the plethora of the whole universe. Well, maybe they should just cut back and have one villain like they used to, and we can top out at 2 hours. That'd be great. And lastly, Scarface. So Scarface with Al Pacino, even though some people seem to love this movie, it does go too long. All right, now is for the plugs. You got to go to iTunes. We need to get higher ratings in iTunes. So please, if you have an iTunes account, subscribe so you can get our weekly show. And then also rate and review the show. The more ratings we get, the higher in the algorithm we will be so that other people can hear this wonderful content. All right, please go to iTunes. Next, if you have an Android phone or simply don't want to use iTunes, you can always go to Podbean. So you go to damngoodmoviememories.podbean.com and check us out there. You can subscribe there as well. You can go to our Facebook page so you can get up to the date when I release the new shows. And you can also go to YouTube if you choose to listen there. All right, until next week, this is Brian signing off.
Fuck the Hobbit.